Have you ever asked yourself why you are still waiting? You have prayed with tears, believed with all your heart, and yet it feels as though the answer is far away. You have trusted God's promise, but the doors have not opened. In those quiet moments, it is easy to wonder if God has forgotten you. But the truth is, God never forgets His children. What may look like delay is often divine preparation. God works in silence, but His silence is never empty. It is filled with purpose, filled with lessons, filled with love. When you are waiting, God is not punishing you. He is shaping you. Waiting seasons are classrooms for the soul. They teach patience, humility, and faith. When a seed is planted, it disappears into the dark soil, hidden from sight. It seems lifeless for a time, but inside that seed, life is forming. Roots begin to grow in the unseen. The same is true for you. While you are waiting, God is growing something inside you. Faith that can stand the storm, peace that passes understanding, and trust that will not break under pressure. Sometimes we confuse silence with absence, but God's silence does not mean He has stepped away. It means He is speaking in a different language, one that can only be heard by faith. When you cannot trace His hand, you can still trust His heart. God has not abandoned you. He is near, watching every detail, arranging every step, and preparing every answer. He is teaching you to walk by faith, not by sight. When we look at the lives of those who came before us, we see this truth again and again. Abraham waited years for his promise. Joseph waited through betrayal and prison before his dream came true. David waited long before becoming king. Their waiting was not wasted time. It was preparation time. God used those seasons to build strength, humility, and endurance within them. The promise did not fail. It was fulfilled at the right time, in the right way. The same God who was faithful to them is faithful to you. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. His promises do not expire with time. They are eternal. Sometimes we think delay means denial, but with God, delay often means development. He is developing your faith so that when the blessing arrives, you will be ready to hold it. Many people receive blessings they are not prepared for and lose them quickly. God loves you too much to let that happen. He waits until your heart and your situation are both ready. While you wait, it is natural to grow weary. You may feel forgotten or even question your faith. But do not lose heart. The same hand that holds the stars holds your future. God sees your tears and hears every whisper of your prayer. He knows the desires of your heart, and He will fulfill them in His perfect time. Your part is to keep trusting, keep believing, and keep walking with Him, even when the path seems uncertain. There is a peace that comes when you stop fighting the delay and start trusting the design. The world teaches us to rush, but God teaches us to rest. The world says, do more, but God says, be still and know that I am God. When you choose to rest in His timing, you begin to experience freedom. The pressure to make things happen fades away, and faith begins to grow in its place. Trust becomes your anchor. Hope becomes your song. Every waiting season has a hidden blessing. In waiting, you learn to listen more deeply to God's voice. You begin to recognize His whispers in ways you never did before. You start to understand that His presence is not something you have to earn. It is already with you. The promise you are waiting for may not have arrived yet, but His presence, the very essence of who He is already here. That presence is peace, strength, and comfort. If you have ever felt unseen, remember that God watches over those who wait for Him. Your faith does not go unnoticed. Every act of obedience, every moment of surrender, every quiet prayer counts. Heaven takes notice. When a child of God chooses faith over fear, your patience is not wasted. God is preparing something so beautiful that when it finally comes, you will say it was worth every moment of waiting. So if you find yourself asking, Lord, why am I still waiting? Know this, He is not holding back to hurt you. He is holding back to help you. He is not late. He is exact in His timing. The day will come when the waiting ends and the promise stands before you. When that moment arrives, you will understand that every tear, every prayer, every test had a purpose. You will see how the waiting made you stronger, wiser, and closer to God. Waiting is never easy, but it is holy. It refines the heart and deepens trust. While you wait, let God work in you as much as you want Him to work for you. Because the truth is, what happens within you is often greater than what happens around you. When your heart is right, every blessing will flow in the right season. When you are in a season of waiting, it can feel like walking through a long and quiet valley. You see others moving forward, receiving their blessings and stepping into answered prayers, while your own path seems still. But God's plan for your life does not run by human calendars. What feels like a pause to you is a process to Him. God is not rushing because He knows exactly what He is doing. Every step you take, even the slow ones, are leading you towards something greater than you imagine. Waiting is a sacred invitation to trust more deeply. It is a time to stop trying to control everything and start resting in God's control. When you learn to wait, you learn to let go. You release the need to understand every detail and start to believe that His thoughts are higher than yours. This surrender brings peace. You begin to realize that you don't need to know how or when. You only need to know who holds your future, who keeps His promises, who never fails. Many people give up in the middle of the wait. They lose heart because they cannot see progress. But faith is not about sight, it is about trust. Faith means believing that even when there is no visible sign, God is still at work. Like a painter adding layers to a masterpiece, God is adding depth, color, and meaning to your life. One brushstroke at a time. You may not see the final picture yet, but the artist knows exactly what he's creating. Sometimes waiting exposes the true condition of our hearts. When we don't get what we want right away, we realize how much we depend on outcomes instead of God Himself. But waiting purifies our motives. It shifts our focus from the blessing to the blesser. It teaches us that peace is not found in getting what we want, but in being close to the one who knows what's best. God often delays the promise to help us fall in love with His presence before His provision. You may not feel it, but your faith is growing in this season. Every time you choose to pray instead of complain, to worship instead of worry, your roots of faith go deeper. You may not see fruit yet, but the roots are getting stronger. And strong roots can survive any storm. When the blessing finally blooms, it will stand tall because it was built on trust, not impatience. There is also purpose in the pain of waiting, the disappointments, the moments of doubt, the times when you thought it was finally happening only for it to slip away. None of that is wasted. God uses it all. He takes what feels like broken pieces and arranges them into a story of redemption. The tears you have cried are not forgotten. They are seeds of tomorrow's joy. One day, you will look back and understand that the very things that hurt you were shaping the person who could carry the promise. Do not rush what God is preparing. A promise received too soon can become a burden instead of a blessing. If you pull a fruit before it's ripe, it loses its sweetness. The same is true for your dreams. God waits until both the fruit and your heart are ready. When His timing and your maturity meet, the promise will come with peace, not pressure. In the waiting, keep your heart open, keep showing kindness, keep loving people, keep serving where you are. Waiting does not mean doing nothing. It means doing what you can with faith while trusting God to do what only He can. There is power in small, consistent steps of obedience. Every act of faith, no matter how small, draws you closer to the promise. And when doubts whisper to your heart, remind yourself of who God is. He is not a man that He should lie. His word never returns empty. What He begins, He finishes. You may not see how, but He sees the end from the beginning. Even now, He is aligning things in your favor. He is opening doors you cannot see and preparing people who will help you walk into your purpose. Let your waiting become worship. Let your delay become devotion. Every breath can be a prayer of trust. Lord, I don't understand everything, but I believe You are working. That simple prayer releases peace. It turns anxiety into assurance. It transforms the waiting room into a place of intimacy with God. When you stop seeing waiting as wasted time, everything changes. You begin to discover joy even before the promise arrives. You find peace in progress that only heaven measures. You begin to notice that God is not only preparing the promise for you, He is preparing you for the promise. The transformation happening within you right now is part of His divine plan. So stand firm. Hold on to faith. The story is not over. What looks delayed is not denied. God has already written the ending, and it is filled with His goodness. The waiting may be long, but the reward will be lasting. Trust the process, because the one who began this good work will surely bring it to completion. There are moments in life when the waiting feels like too much. You wake up and wonder if today will be any different from yesterday. You do everything you know how to do. Pray, believe, serve, stay faithful, and still nothing seems to move. In those moments, doubt tries to whisper, maybe it's not going to happen. Maybe God changed His mind. But remember this, God never changes His mind about His promises. What He spoke over your life still stands. His word is alive, powerful, and unshakable. What He promised, He will perform. God's timing is not slow, it is specific. He sees what you cannot see. There are details being aligned, hearts being prepared, opportunities being positioned, and circumstances being arranged so that when the moment comes, everything fits perfectly. If the promise came too soon, it could fall apart. But when it comes in God's time, it will stand forever. The delay is not a sign of God's neglect, but of His protection. He is shielding you from blessings that you are not yet ready to hold, and from situations that could destroy what He is building within you. When you begin to understand that waiting is a form of grace, you stop fighting it. You stop comparing your timeline to others and start resting in the fact that God's plan is personal. What He does in someone else's life is not a measure of what He is doing in yours. Each story unfolds at its own pace. Each purpose matures in its own season. The flower that blooms later is no less beautiful. It simply needed more time in the sun. You are not behind. You are right on schedule in God's design. In this season, one of the greatest lessons you can learn is how to remain faithful in the unseen. It is easy to praise God when everything is visible, when the answers are clear and the blessings tangible. But true faith is built when you keep worshiping, even when you cannot see the way, when you lift your voice in gratitude with no evidence of change. That's when heaven moves. God honors the heart that trusts Him in the dark. Think of the potter and the clay. When the clay is on the wheel, it must stay centered for the potter to shape it properly. If it wobbles or resists, the potter must begin again. The waiting season is like being on the potter's wheel. You may feel pressure from every side, but that pressure is forming something beautiful in you. God's hands are gentle but firm. He knows exactly how much shaping you can handle. Every turn of the wheel brings you closer to becoming the vessel that can carry His promise. There will be times when the waiting is lonely. Friends may not understand. People may question your faith or your choices. Some may walk away. But even in solitude, you are never alone. The presence of God is constant. Even when you do not feel it, He stands beside you in every silent moment, watching, comforting, strengthening you from within. When you sit quietly with Him, peace begins to rise in your heart. You start to sense that the same God who was with Moses in the wilderness, who stood with Daniel in the lion's den, who walked with Joseph in prison, is walking with you now. In those moments, talk to Him as a friend. Tell Him your fears, your frustrations, your questions. God is not angered by honest prayers. He listens to the cries of your heart. And even when words fail, He understands your silence. Sometimes when you cannot pray long prayers, a single whisper, "Lord, help me trust you," is enough. That simple sentence opens the door for His peace to flood your soul. As you wait, remember that faith is not a feeling, it is a choice. You choose to believe even when emotions rise and fall. Feelings can mislead you, but faith anchors you. Every time you choose faith over fear, you build spiritual muscle. Every time you choose gratitude over grumbling, you strengthen your endurance. Every time you choose patience over panic, you move one step closer to the promise. Waiting is not passive, it is active trust. You don't sit still in despair. You walk forward in expectation. You keep doing what is right, even when you do not see results. You keep serving others, even when no one thanks you. You keep sowing seeds of faith, even when the ground looks dry. In due season, those seeds will sprout. What you do in private now will become the fruit of your future. You may not realize it, but God is already answering your prayers, just not in the way you expected. He is answering through growth, through maturity, through preparation. The answer you are waiting for may not be a door that suddenly opens. It might be the strength you've gained while knocking. The promise may not come as a single event, but as a transformation within you. God often changes you before He changes your situation. When your heart is ready, the circumstances will follow. So while you wait, lift your eyes, see the bigger picture, know that God has not forgotten you. His promise still lives within you, and it is stronger than any delay. Keep walking, keep believing, keep trusting. One day soon, you will see that every moment of waiting was working for your good. There comes a moment in every believer's life when the waiting turns into a test of trust. You begin to realize that God is not only working on the promise, He is working on you. He is refining your heart, removing fear, pride, and impatience so that your faith can stand on solid ground. If God gave you the blessing before the lesson, the blessing might fade. But when He strengthens your spirit first, you can carry the promise without losing peace. The waiting season is not punishment. It is preparation for the weight of glory that is coming. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to rest in God's presence. In a world that constantly tells you to hustle, strive, and achieve, resting can feel wrong. But divine rest is not laziness, it is trust. When you rest, you declare, God, you are in control. I don't have to force what you have already promised. Rest is the soil where faith grows. It gives your heart space to hear His voice clearly. You see, when your mind is full of anxiety, it is difficult to discern what God is saying. But when you quiet your thoughts, His whispers become clear. You begin to sense His guidance, to feel His reassurance, to notice the little signs of His love that you missed before, the sunrise that reminds you of His new mercies, the unexpected encouragement from a friend, the gentle peace that settles when you pray. All of these are ways God says, I'm still here. The problem is that many people give up too soon. They walk away just before the breakthrough. The enemy knows that if he can discourage you long enough, you might stop believing. But faith is not proven when things are easy. It's proven when you stand firm in the storm. When everything inside you wants to quit, but you choose to stay, heaven takes notice. God's eyes search the earth for those whose hearts are fully committed to Him. You become one of those people when you refuse to let delay define your faith. Waiting also reveals your priorities. When God delays something you deeply desire, it exposes whether you love the gift or the giver more. If your faith collapses because the promise hasn't come, it may mean your heart was attached to the outcome, not to God Himself. But when you can say, Lord, even if I never receive it, I still trust you, that is mature faith. That's when you move from needing God's hand to seeking His heart. And once you reach that place, the delay loses its power to defeat you. Sometimes God allows delays to protect you from premature success. You might think you're ready, but only God knows the full weight of the blessing. He knows what you can handle and what might crush you. Just as a loving parent won't give the car keys to a child who hasn't learned to drive, God won't hand you a promise you aren't yet equipped to sustain. He is not withholding, He is safeguarding your destiny. And while you wait, you must also guard your thoughts. Doubt often starts as a whisper, but can grow into a storm if you entertain it. Thoughts like, what if I missed my chance? Or maybe God forgot me can drain your hope. That's why you must replace those lies with truth. Remind yourself daily of who God is, faithful, unchanging, loving, wise. Speak life over your situation. Declare God is still working. His promises are still true. My time is coming. These are not empty words. They are statements of faith that realign your heart with heaven's perspective. As you speak truth, your faith grows stronger. Words shape reality. When you fill your atmosphere with faith, fear loses its grip. When you speak with hope, discouragement begins to lift. That's how you shift from waiting with worry to waiting with worship. Worship changes the atmosphere of your heart. It takes your eyes off what's missing and fixes them on who God is. In worship, your soul finds rest. There's a beauty in worshiping while you wait. It confuses the enemy. It silences doubt. It turns your waiting room into a sanctuary. You may not have the answer yet, but you have His presence, and that is more valuable than anything else, because when you have His presence, you have peace. And peace is what sustains you through every delay. Many people in Scripture had to wait. Abraham, Joseph, Hannah, David. Their stories remind us that delay does not mean denial. God used every waiting season to prepare them for something greater. Abraham learned to trust beyond reason. Joseph developed wisdom in prison that would later help him govern a nation. Hannah's tears became the seed of her testimony. David's years in the wilderness built the courage he needed to face giants and lead with humility. If they could trust God through uncertainty, so can you. The same God who fulfilled His promises to them will fulfill His promise to you. It may not come how you expect, but it will come right on time. There will be a day when you look back and realize that the waiting season was not wasted. You'll see how God used every delay to draw you closer to Him, to deepen your faith, to prepare you for the very thing you prayed for. In time, your story will encourage others. You'll be able to tell someone who is waiting, I've been where you are, I've felt what you feel, but God came through for me, and He will come through for you too. That's the power of perseverance. Your faith in delay becomes a testimony that helps others stand in their own season of waiting. So even if you don't see movement yet, don't stop believing. Keep your heart open. Keep your spirit steady. Keep your eyes on God's faithfulness. The story is still unfolding, and the ending will be worth every moment of patience. One day, the waiting will end. The thing you prayed for will arrive, not as a surprise, but as a fulfillment. It will not come through striving or fear, but through the quiet faith you built in the unseen. You will look back and realize that every moment of waiting had meaning. Every unanswered prayer shaped your heart. Every delay built your endurance. Every silent night strengthened your voice. You will understand that God was never late. He was precise. When the promise comes, it will fit perfectly. You won't have to force it, chase it, or question it. It will carry peace with it because it will come from His hand. You will recognize that the same God who guided you through the delay is the one who now delivers the promise. And when it happens, you won't just celebrate the result, you will honor the process. You will thank Him not only for what He gave you, but for who He made you while you waited. The truth is, the promise was never just about the blessing. It was about transformation. God used the waiting to prepare your heart for a deeper relationship with Him. He taught you how to hear His voice, how to rest in His timing, how to trust without proof. That kind of faith cannot be learned from comfort. It is learned through surrender. When you finally reach the other side, you will know God not just as a provider, but as a companion. You will say, even when I could not see Him, He was with me. Even when I didn't understand, He was working. And that understanding will change the way you live. You will begin to face new seasons of waiting with confidence, not fear. You will no longer see delays as detours, but as divine designs. You will trust that every pause has a purpose. Every no hides a better yes, and every closed door is leading to a greater one. You will live with peace, knowing that your steps are ordered, that your story is guided, and that your life is unfolding according to a plan far wiser than your own. When others around you are restless, you will be calm. When they are anxious, you will be patient. When they are tempted to quit, you will quietly say, God is faithful. Just wait. Your strength will not come from what you can see, but from what you know. God never breaks His promises. His character is your guarantee. His love is your anchor. His word is your assurance that what He said will come to pass. Every promise of God has a process, and the process is always worth it. Waiting produces gratitude, and gratitude prepares you for glory. The one who waited well receives the promise with humility, knowing it was not earned by effort but given by grace. So, when your blessing finally arrives, lift your hands and thank Him. Not just for the answer, but for the journey, because the same God who was faithful yesterday will be faithful tomorrow. And remember this, your waiting is not just about you. God is building a story through your life that will touch others. Your patience becomes someone else's inspiration. Your testimony becomes someone else's hope. There is someone watching you, silently encouraged by your endurance. When they see you trust God despite the delay, it gives them courage to do the same. Your faith is lighting a path for those who will come after you. So do not despise the waiting. Let it do its work. Let it refine you, strengthen you, and deepen your roots in God's love. Because when the promise comes, and it will, you will not be shaken. You will stand firm, full of peace, knowing that you didn't just receive a blessing, you became one. And in that moment, when you see the fulfillment of what God has spoken, you will realize that the waiting was never wasted. It was sacred. It was holy ground where your heart learned to trust, your soul learned to rest, and your spirit learned to believe beyond what it could see. You will bow your head and whisper, Lord, thank you for the waiting, because it made me ready. God's promises are not delayed, they are developing. Your faith is not forgotten, it is being strengthened. Every moment you trust Him is a seed planted for your future. Keep believing, keep standing, keep waiting with expectation, because one day soon you will see the beauty of His perfect timing, and you will understand why He asked you to wait. And when that day comes, you will no longer ask, why am I waiting? Instead, you will say with peace, now I see. God was preparing me for something greater than I imagined. The waiting will end, the promise will arrive, and your heart will rest in the truth that God was faithful all along.